Welcome to the Faith is Not Blind podcast. I'm here in Gothenburg, Sweden with Per Herrey. Per, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Well, I'd love to start by just getting a little bit of a sense for how it is you came to be a member of the church. Did you grow up in the church? Did your parents grow up in the church? Tell me more about how you came to be.
My parents were converts just before I was born, actually.
Okay.
So I was raised in the church, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so they converted, and they already had a few kids, right, when they converted to the church, or?
Yeah, that's true. My older sisters were born.
Okay.
So I was about to be born when they were converted.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was the first one born into the gospel, you might say, in the family.
Okay. And what was that like for you? How did your parents, I guess I should say, instill in you faith, knowledge, testimony of the gospel? How did you come to grow in the faith?
Well, my parents were very strong in the faith, and they taught us for me, from my childhood, and so for me it was a natural thing growing up. That was just a part of my life.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you ever? Did you feel like there was a point in time where you kind of had to decide for yourself, or was it a little bit more automatic?
Well, I always had a sense of what I've been taught was good.
Okay.
Yeah. But of course it came to a point when I got a bit older, in my older teens, I would say, where I had to really, get my own confirmation that this was good for me and this was right for me. And so that's, I believe I received my own answers that has helped me through my life. And so I haven't been relying on my parents' testimony, so to speak.
Since you were maybe 16 or so.
Yeah.
Okay. As you look back on your life in the church, are there particular moments where you had a particularly strong or dramatic experience that you feel anchor you, or is it just more of a kind of steady progression toward where you are today?
I would say both.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say I've had some very, very strong spiritual experiences over the years, but they don't come every day. Mm-hmm. But and so in a sense, I think it has been also like a progression. It's I sort of trust on and I lean on the many spiritual experiences, of course, that I've had. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's not something you maybe walk around every day and
right.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things that strikes me is one of my favorite scriptures in the Doctrine and Covenants. The Lord tells us that He'll tell us through the Holy Ghost in our mind and in our heart. Professionally, you're a lawyer, and lawyers tend to be very, maybe I'm stereotyping lawyers here, which is a very dangerous thing, but lawyers tend to be logical.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
What role does both the mind and the heart play for you in your belief?
That's a very good question. For me, it's a combination of both. My mind is a reasoning mind. It's a logical mind. I think you have to do that and have questions. Yeah, we all have doubts. We all have questions in life, and that's our mind, maybe speaking.
Sure.
But in this sense, when it comes to the gospel, the heart has to be there as well, because the Spirit speaks to the heart and the mind, as we know from the scriptures.
Right.
And to me, at least, that has been evident. The Spirit has spoken to my heart and to my mind, and it's like they click, and they confirm that the heart confirms what the mind, and vice versa, sort of.
Right.
And it opens up feelings and opens up knowledge, I think, from the Spirit, because the Spirit can help us and teach us, give us knowledge, actually.
Yeah. As a lawyer, do you feel like you can look at the balance of evidence we have, the Book of Mormon, things like that, and make a compelling case? Or do you feel like it really is, very, very kind of grounded in the emotional experiences and the spiritual experiences?
I think both, and my own experience was that, or has been through recent years, I would say, since there has been a lot of questions raised about details in the church and the historical part about the Book of Mormon and so forth.
Right.
And my own journey, my own spiritual journey in that sense, was a journey of looking into the questions, meeting them sort of head on,
Mm-hmm.
and also by reasoning quite a bit, I would come to the sense that, well, if there is a God, does he have a purpose of us being here? And to me, no one has defined that purpose better than Joseph Smith did.
Mm-hmm.
Joseph Smith's religious footprint is marvelous, and it's majestic, and it's so grand that it's hard to comprehend that someone who was basically 23, 24 years old
Mm-hmm.
could present such deep understanding of the purpose of us being here on this earth.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that became so evident that I thought to myself, well, I believe there is a God. I believe he has created this earth. Everything in this world testifies of him.
Mm-hmm.
And if there is a God and he has created the earth, I'm sure that he has a purpose for us being here.
Right.
And for me, that purpose is defined so well by Joseph Smith, and I'm so grateful that it has been so much comfort for me
Mm-hmm.
In my life.
Comfort because it helps you understand
Yes.
the purpose of all of this. And
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you dig a little bit deeper into all these, the Book of Mormon is a great example. I mean, looking at the Book of Mormon, as you were talking about before, as a lawyer, I would have a very good case, I think, if I would present it in a trial, if the Book of Mormon was on a trial,
Mm-hmm.
because there's so much evidence in favor of the story that has been told, and there are not many things in the contrary.
Right.
And all the people involved, they were true to their story. They were very consistent in their telling it, and nobody has really been able to contradict that and say that they didn't say it. For example, all the witnesses and so forth.
Not to mention the theology in it and the.
Exactly, and yes, because that's the next dimension of it. Not only you have to remember, like I said before, Joseph was very young when the Book of Mormon came about, and in the Book of Mormon there is so much deep doctrine,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so profound about the atonement of Christ, about the fall of Adam, about the pre-existence, about all of these. For a religious person, at least for me, it's essential to sort of understand this complexity of it, and it's just presented beautifully, and I think sometimes people forget when they they look into details and start questioning details of how Joseph received certain information. Well, look at the information itself. What do we have
Mm-hmm.
here, and sort of contemplate it, the depth of it, and the beauty of it, I would say.
Right. I'm curious. Before you were a lawyer, you were a musician.
Yes.
Which has placed you in kind of the public eye in Sweden since for how long now? When did that begin?
35 years ago.
35 years ago.
Yes.
The church has grown and developed a lot over those 35 years here in Sweden.
That's true.
I imagine, I guess what I'm wondering is, how do Swedes see Per Herrey and your religion and your belief? Do you get a lot of questions about it? Are there people who can't believe that you believe? And how's that been over the years?
Well, I mean, in general, Swedish people are not very religious,
Right.
But I mean, everybody knows in the public eye that I am a member of this church.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes, and every interview that I do, I always get the questions about my church.
Uh-huh.
It's like it comes with the territory, sort
Sure.
of. And I'm sure there are a lot of people at my work and so forth that they don't share my beliefs, but they respect me as a person, and I don't get to hear everything what people think or believe about the religion itself, but it's something that I'm happy about in my life, and I'm happy to share it if somebody asks me.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. Last question for you. What advice would you have for someone who is trying to develop a testimony or trying to figure out what they believe? What would you recommend they do?
I would recommend that they put their trust in God.
Okay.
Yeah, and if they only have like a small seed that can grow in their heart, try and nurture it the best you can, and sometimes, yes, there are things in life that we don't understand. We don't understand the eternities. We don't understand the universe and all its complexity and so forth.
Right.
There are so many unanswered questions that one day, I'm sure we will know when we're after this life. Right. That's at least my belief. But I think that in this life, you have to put the trust in God that He is there, and that He cares for you, and that He can give you answers if you ask Him.
You mentioned trusting God.
Yes.
It can be really hard to trust someone who you don't know if faith doesn't come automatic to somebody. Maybe somebody hasn't grown up in the church or grown up in a religious family. What advice would you have for them on how to actually build that relationship with God such that they'll be able to trust Him and come to know Him?
Well, I think you have to seek the spiritual things in life somehow to get closer to God.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, after all,
make that effort.
After all, it's about faith. Mm-hmm. It's someone we don't know, but for me, it's looking around at this world and the beauty and the marvel of it. It's a testimony for me that He exists, and maybe that can be a beginning for someone. I don't know, and just kind of think, well, maybe there is a creator. Maybe there is someone more. Maybe there is a purpose of me being here. Maybe there is a life after death, and sort of begin there and talk to God.
Yeah,
why not try it?
Start to sort of entertain those maybes.
Yeah.
What if it was this? And in that way you can kind of build your religious muscles.
Yes, absolutely.
Because it is a different aspect of us that that pursues religion than maybe other pursuits.
Of course, and yeah.
Is there anything else you'd want to share with us, Per, about your faith journey or your relationship with God?
Well, I think I've said quite a bit, but I'm very happy about my belief. It's a very great comfort in my life, and it has created a lot of happiness for me personally. And like I said, I'm very glad about it, and I'm glad to share it too if somebody asks me about it. But at the same time, it's my own beliefs. Mm-hmm. It's a personal thing. It's a personal relationship with God, and I admonish everybody who wants that to try and sow that seed and get closer to God, because I believe that creates more happiness in life.
Yeah. Oh. Thank you, Per.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.